Hi, my name is Philip Burt. I attend the Rock, Minneapolis. I've been attending the Rock since roughly January 2009, February 2009. And to kind of begin with my story, I got to kind of back up before that even. And I was first introduced to the Rock or heard of the Rock about 6 years ago. A good friend of mine, Corey Kranz. I grew up with Corey. I've known him for a long time in elementary school, junior high, high school. And we went to different colleges. He went to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and I went to the Duluth campus. And so whenever I'd be home for like winter breaks or spring breaks or summer breaks, he would always throw out the option, hey, you want to come check out the Rock tonight? And I kind of pushed it aside and wasn't really interested. And I was raised in a Lutheran church. I kind of had a fallout with what I refer to today as organized religion. Sometime in my high school, early college years, I just remember kind of pushing it aside and being very disinterested in church and not very active, not really proactive to go back to it. And then in June 2008, I had gotten a job offer that would move me back to the cities. And what's actually funny is that job was supposed to move me to Washington, D.C., but just to Minneapolis for a couple weeks. And I didn't end up going to D.C., worked the job, and then come January 2009, I was actually laid off. And around that same time, my same friend Corey was getting married, and I was a part of his wedding. And I ended up meeting a lot of Rock people through the wedding process, right? And so at the time, I didn't have a job. My life kind of collapsed in a sense. I had a perfect career out of school, got paid probably more than most people my age should make at that time in their life. And what was interesting to me, looking back now, is I found that I always thought when I was in college that if I'd graduate college, I'd make more money and I would be happier, so to speak, which wasn't necessarily the case, because I found myself, even when I was in my job before I got laid off, I didn't really feel any different than I did when I was in school and broke. And so and I kind of asked myself a couple questions, is this going to continue on? I don't ever feel like I'm content with things. So all these things, those thoughts, getting laid off, and then I call it the pressure from Corey and different people around me to say, hey, you should come check out the Rock one night. I really ran out of excuses not to go. I mean, when you don't have a job, your time's pretty free. So when Corey had gotten back from his honeymoon, I attended a service with him, and one of the things that was really fascinating that I noticed right away when I walked into the location is, being raised Lutheran, it was being a handful of people that were our age. Everybody else was older, either parents' age or older yet. And that was what I always envisioned church. And at the Rock, everyone was pretty much 18-ish to 32-ish years in age. And that was different. What's even more fascinating about that, I was on a Friday night, they're all going to church. And as most people know, in a worldly view, Friday night isn't where you find a lot of people my age is at church. It's a very rare occurrence. So I noticed that right away, and that was pretty interesting to me. I mean, Corey had told me these things, and it's different when you get told it than when you actually experience it. And attending the church, I remember walking to the service, and what was fascinating too is the fact that it was almost like a rock band / alternative group performing. I mean, a cello player, bass player, a couple singers, drum set, and that was a little foreign to me. What was interesting is how passionate everyone was on the stage performing, and how you could listen, understand what they're saying. You're like, huh, that's interesting. That's got some value to it. And then also too, I remember just hearing Mark Darling that night share, and that it seemed like I almost felt like he was talking directly at me, even though there's a few 300-400 people in the room, and it really kind of blew me back, because I was kind of like, I almost felt like people were looking at me, like he had done some kind of homework on me, and so I had to kind of like learn more a little bit about that. So I decided to come back again, and also with all this, I noticed how like nice and wholesome all the people were, and that was another reason I kept going, because I didn't really believe that. I thought it was fake, and I mean, I'm a fairly good judge of character, and I can tell if people are being real with me or not. And I felt like there were people who were being fake or not real, and so I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to prove that to myself that that's the case. Little did I know at the time, and now I'm very well aware, is the fact that they're definitely not the case. People were very genuine. People do care about your life. They are interested in you. And I was proven wrong pretty quickly after going to small groups and house church, and people just don't waver. I mean, they stay very strong on their beliefs. They're very firm in where they're at. And that was very enticing to me, and so I've continued to come to the Rock, and since then just continued to grow and build in my faith. And then I attended Faith Walkers this past December, and ended up being kind of, I guess, life-changing. During one of the speakers that week, I actually accepted Christ, and then later that day was baptized with many of my house church present, and that was just kind of a whirlwind of a life experience change, and it was pretty substantial in my walk. It kind of solidified things. I sort of felt like it was about probably 6 months overdue, because I'd been coming to the Rock almost every week for the last 11 months, and it just kind of never really occurred to me to actually outwardly accept Christ and then go through that process. So then we did kind of solidify things and made it official. And ever since then, I mean, things have continued to grow. My walk's gotten a lot stronger. I would make decisions based on my relationship with Christ, how it's going to affect that. A couple years ago, I would have just taken a job and moved anywhere in the country. And then since I've also, in my small group this past fall, I met a young woman and started dating her in the last few months, and that's been amazing and continues to be great too. So it's pretty profound how God continues to work in my life and the things He tests me on. It's by no means been easy. It's been a challenging walk. Some things frustrating, but the benefits far outweigh the costs. So it's been a great experience so far. I'm not quite sure. I know if it wasn't for a church like The Rock, I wouldn't be here today.